welcome to this week's Grab A Cuppa podcast. My name is Kat Wright and I'm your host, and I have a great guest with us this week. We have got Adie Trevelyan, a.k.a. Dr Porridge from Lost in Porridge series that airs on Primordial Radio, a radio station online that I spoke to you guys about. So, in this week's episode, we talk about mental health, we talk about autism, but we also talk about how Dr. Porridge was created to help the steampunk community. So before I play you this chat, I would like to provide you with a trigger warning. We go quite heavily on suicidal ideation. So if anything that we speak about, if you feel like it might trigger you, please listen carefully or just skip this episode for now. So whenever you're ready, if you need any resources, go to our website. It's grabacuppa.co.uk/resources. So, with no further ado, this is Grab A Cuppa with Adie Trevelyan, aka Dr. Cornelius Porridge. Well, Dr. Porridge.
Hello.
AKA, do you prefer Adie or Adrian?
Oh, Adie. Only my
Adie.
mother calls me Adrian.
Yeah. I'm just checking.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm Adie. Yeah.
Adie.
Oh,
gosh.
Many sorts of names have been used. Most of them are not broadcastable.
Yeah, I guess so.
So here we are, the Grab A Cuppa podcast.
The Grab A Cuppa podcast. So
I've got coffee, so I'm all ready to go.
I should have changed it to Grab A Bucket, because look at that beast.
Oh wow! That's not a mug. That's a swimming pool for sentient ants.
I need it. So this is a retro Batman, like, huge cup.
I imagine sort of a spider getting into that and just sort of doing some backstroke.
Yeah, it's like the old style.
Oh, it's the 1960s Silver Age Batman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
I'm a big geek.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, ta-da, behind me I have my entire Fortean library.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Lots of geeky stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a Marvel fanboy, so.
Yeah, like I think at the moment I'm getting a lot into my DC stuff, because DC is a little bit more darker than Marvel, especially when Marvel's sort of like it's been a little bit Disney-fied, if that makes sense.
A little bit Disney-fied.
Yeah.
The mouths have taken over.
Just a little bit. Yeah. Just a little bit.
That's what it's done with Star Wars, isn't it? Dun, 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 dun.
I
have no idea.
I used to love Star Wars growing up, but I guess now I'm just, I don't know. I think it's the same, like, it's the same thing, different planet.
Oh, yeah. But there's always a sort of inherent bias towards Star Wars anyway. So for my age group, we were like, the originals are the best. And then sort of my friend's age group might be, no, I like the first three. And I just go, Jar Jar Binks is evil. Why are you even there? And, and then you get a new generation of kids going, oh, I love the new Star Wars, and it's all very nicey, hugging a mug stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Of course.
Oh, excellent. Jar Jar Binks is a big pile of shite.
Oh, there you go. Yes, it's not a problem. Swear as much as you like. However, we try to avoid the see you next Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
Some people get really offended by that.
Yeah. Well, I'm quite a sensible chap.
Of course.
So, how are you?
I'm good. I am very busy. I've been very, very busy lately, which is good. We've had very interesting guests so far. But more towards like the music industry rather than individuals.
Oh, okay.
Which has been nice. It's been really nice, actually. It's been a
so, dear listeners, today is going to be very odd.
It's what we like.
Well, yeah, having all the musical talent of a dead badger. So
I always say, like, if anyone wants me to join the band, I'll bring my triangle or my kazoo.
oh, kazoos are brilliant.
Bring
There's a kazoo choir somewhere in steampunk that does loads of, like, they always do Jurassic Park for some reason. You can
that would be so much fun, actually. But basically, I just wanted us to talk about you.
Yeah.
Adie.
Mm-hmm. The non-porridge part.
Yeah, we'll concentrate on Adie first, and then Porridge comes along.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
What would you like to know about?
What would I like to know? Well, basically, just like, your, where you're from and that sort of thing, just basic stuff, so that people can get to know you, Adie, a bit more.
So I shall start at the beginning. It was a dark and moonlit night. Somewhere, an owl hooted. I was found by Stork behind the gooseberry bush and brought in by the fairy people. I've had a pretty uninteresting life, to be honest. I say that, but I never really enjoyed school. I was a bit of the class clown, surprisingly. And I used to get bored. And this was before I had my diagnosis of autism.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went to college, and I have many interests. I'm very much a jack of all trades, master of none, and that's quite a good way of living my life. And then I got diagnosed. I suppose my life changed because I got diagnosed with. Back then it was known as Asperger's syndrome, but now I think it's called high functioning autism. But I'd spent my life being quite lonely, and loneliness is probably a big part of my life, because even if you're in a room with like 100 people and you know them really well, I've never felt like I'm with people. So I'm very sort of nervous about who I am and what I am. So I do tend to overcompensate to try and fit in, but that generally means that people don't understand. So I'm a bit unique in the way that I believe. But, I've studied philosophy and I've studied sociology and psychology and many different things like that. Ufology, because I like UFOs.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It's not a real ology. It's basically where a bunch of people sit around and talk about lights in the sky. And some people take it really, really seriously, and some people take it really, really
not so seriously.
And I just go, "Ooh, look, a butterfly," and that's pretty much how I go. I'm just interested in stuff, and I'm very interested in people. I love people. I don't understand people, but I love people, because everyone I meet will teach me something I don't know, and humans behave in such a weird way in any sort of group situation or anything like that. And I say humans in a very sort of affectionate term. And one of the big struggles I've had through my life is I've never felt human. And it's a kind of difficult idea to express to people that you don't feel like you're part of an actual other species. So I've existed in that sort of outside part. Hence why I've had mental health problems, I think. So, yeah.
I can relate to that, actually. Like, growing up, I always felt like I didn't belong anywhere. It was just like I was part of, I don't know, I felt like I never fit anywhere because of my personality, and I always felt like people didn't like me because I was different. Because I was always a very emotional kid. And I would take everything I would take it to heart, everything and anything. And I am a literal thinker, so I would take everything literally. And
I have some stories about literal thinking.
Literal thinking and everything. And then if I don't know, if my friend said something, but they weren't they didn't mean it literally, I would feel so bad, like I didn't understand.
Yeah. I know that one.
Yeah. It's sort of like if my friend was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you," sort of like, jokingly, I'd be like, "You're gonna kill me? Why? What have I done?" So I
Yeah, it's
felt
not nice.
it's not nice, and I really struggled with relationships, platonic and otherwise. Most of my life I struggled with relationships with people, and I just always felt like it was my fault, that
Yeah.
because I was different, it was always my fault. I don't know if where you can relate to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
my first long-term relationship, I mean, I was probably a bit of a dick as well, but I'm still trying to find my way in a relationship. And when we separated years ago, 20 odd years ago now, I was a very angry young man. But as I've got older and mellowed, I sort of reflect on it and think, well, actually, yeah, it just wasn't compatible in the end, and wish them all the best of luck. But yeah, I mean, at the time, you can find yourself, you're trying to fit into a society that is expecting certain aspects, and you don't feel like you should fit into that. I'm always very much dead fish go. Dead fish go with the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm an otter, so I just eat.
I like
I eat
that
the
actually.
fish. Yeah. Um. So it's things like that. So I got very depressed about certain situations, and I mean, I used to take things really literally. Can you imagine how funny it was when the first girl who turned out to me and said, "Oh, I'm really horny." I was like, "What are you, a goat?" I didn't get it, and I mean,
Do you know what? It sounds like, when we're talking about this, now that we
yeah,
are older, it sounds a little bit like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But then it's like at the time, it was just like, it was a real thing, a real issue,
yeah. And
taking
now
care.
I can check it a bit more and
Mm-hmm.
go, "Hang on, do they mean it like that?" And then I sort of scroll through everything in my head and it's like, they meant that. I mean, one of my classic ones was someone asked me to put the dog out, and I asked whether it was on fire, and I was about 7 years old. And I mean, I look back now, and there was lots of little clues. But I was very fortunate at school that I had some very strong friends. I had really good friends. So I had the twins, Darren and James were awesome. A lad called Dave Smith, and we were and Ben Clapton, otherwise known as Eric Clapton, which is hilarious. And we used to hang around. We were sort of thick as thieves. And I think, looking back now, I realise quite how much they protected me from stuff, and it was always. And then when I got older, I mean, my best friend in the whole world, and I'll give him a shout out, is James, the Godfather of Sol Brown. I think it's legendary in certain circles of me and James and our antics. But we are very we're thick as thieves, I think. But I've got really good friends around me now, and they do keep an eye out on me. I think the suicide attempt before Christmas caused difficulties. I think we seem to have resolved them all now. I mean, suicides, I quite openly talk about suicide, but I'm feeling better now that I have certain things in my life. Obviously, I have my wife, who's amazing. I love my wife very much. She puts up with me. I don't know how. If it was me, I would have divorced me years ago.
You can't divorce yourself.
Really? Because it's a philosophical concept that I'm working on. What did you do this morning? Oh, I argue with my own brain.
I argue with my brain constantly.
Yeah, and if you internalize a lot of arguments, and you're constantly treading on eggshells with yourself, it can be really difficult. Because you may have noticed I have a sort of form of verbal diarrhea, where my internal porridge just speaks out.